Hi everyone, and welcome to my sun printing workshop for Cruinniú 2021. My name is Breda Jackson and I'm coming to you online from Mud Island Community Garden. We'll be creating some beautiful sun prints on fabric today that you can use to make all sorts of lovely things. So hopefully you have lots of fun playing along. Welcome to the workshop everybody, where we're going to be doing some sun printing on fabric. And essentially how it works is you have some cotton fabric which you paint with the diluted acrylic paint, and then you lay down leaves, foliage, flowers, and you then expose it to the sun for a few hours. And how it works is that the painted fabric that's exposed to the sun, it dries faster than the areas under the leaves. And a thing called capillary action makes the paint move from the wetter areas to the drier areas of the fabric. So the paint moves from under the leaves into the areas exposed to the sun and creates a lighter area in the shape of the leaf. And it also has this nice kind of defined edge, and sometimes picks up details in the foliage such as leaf veins and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit of magic from the sun. You need a few things to get started. First of all, you need some cotton fabric. This is recycled from an old bed sheet that has been cut up, but any cotton fabric will do. You'll also need some acrylic paint. This is widely available, and darker colours are best as it creates more contrast in your actual sun print. You'll need to water down your paint, 1 part paint to 1 part water. And then you'll need brushes to paint onto the fabric. You'll also need something non-porous to lay your fabric down on when you're painting it and when it's drying. So some plastic sheets, a plastic tablecloth, or bin bags are ideal. You'll need 2 to 3 hours for the sun to dry your prints, on a nice sunny day. You'll also need some water to clean your brushes, and you'll need some leaves and grasses to lay down in your wet painted fabric. And the softer they are, the better. So the better they'll stick to your fabric if they're soft. So go forage for some interesting foliage around where you live or on your walk. And you can also use flower heads to lay down on the fabric as well, and I'll show you how to do that. You'll also need a bowl of water to wet your fabric, because your fabric needs to be wet before you start, and you need to squeeze out as much water as possible, so it needs to be wet but not dripping wet. So that's more or less everything that you'll need, and we'll just get started now. First of all, I'm going to lay the pieces of fabric out onto my surface. So you can use plastic, like a plastic bag, spread over your table. As flat, it needs to be as flat as possible. So I'm just going to do 2 colours here.
to get them as flat as possible onto your surface. And then using your paintbrush, just paint on your diluted acrylic paint. And then you start taking your leaves and have the vein side up, because the smoother side is the non-vein side, and you need to press it in quite well. So that's why these thinner leaves work best. So these are nasturtium leaves. I've also got some dandelion leaves, which are quite thin as well. So I'm just being careful to get them down as close as possible.
So as I mentioned, you need a nice sunny day for this, but as the Irish weather would have it, it's actually started raining here for me despite a very sunny forecast for the day. So I've had to take everything into the greenhouse to do the first part. It's due to clear up in about half an hour, so it should be all good to get the prints dry outside. So hopefully you get a nice uninterrupted sunny day when you try this, but you can always do this bit inside if you need to.
So now you need to leave that to dry for about 2 to 3 hours, but you just need to check that it's fully dry in the sun. So a nice sunny day to let the sun do its magic on them. And once they're dry, I'll give you a look at them.
So the prints have been drying in the sun for a couple of hours and we're ready for the big reveal. This bit is always quite exciting to see what's lurking underneath the leaves and flowers. So here goes, let's see what we've got. So first the nasturtium leaves, and yes, they've lightened up nicely underneath, leaving a nice outline of their shape as well. You see that they've got the lovely lines around them, and you can see the pattern of the veins, very, very vaguely. You'll see it a little bit more apparent now here in the dandelion leaf, now that it's dried. You'll see the vein pattern, and then with the dandelion flower, that has come up nicely and light, and you can see some of the dye actually transferring from the flower. On the other print, you've got the the nasturtium leaves as well. And some are a little bit lighter than others, and that's all to do with, you know, how quickly they're drying. Again, the dandelion leaf, you can see that the tips are much lighter than the middle piece. And again, the flower here is lovely and light, and it has taken up some of the colour of the petals. This one is really light. This is actually a little weed called, I think it's called silverweed, which I found in my garden. So that one has turned out really light, and again, that's to do with the rate at which it's dried. The grass also is very light. So all these different tones really add to the piece. So there you have it. I can show you some close-ups in a little bit. And just to recap, this happens because the fabric dries at different rates and the paint moves from wetter areas under the leaves to the drier areas exposed to the sun. So it's a little bit of magic from the sun. And as well as printing on pieces of fabric, you can also print on cotton clothing. So I'll show you that now.
Someone's going to print on this t-shirt, and I've wet it, and I've just put a little bit of plastic in between the front and the back so that the paint doesn't bleed into the back. And I'm just going to get my brush. And I'm literally just going to paint. And I kind of like these brush marks on the edge. So again, I'm going to lay down my leaves.
So I'm just laying down some small leaves in the wet paint on the t-shirt, and I'll allow this to dry in the sun as well, and then when everything is dry, I'll show you some things that you can make with your sun printed fabric. Once you've removed the foliage and flowers from your sun prints and they're fully dry, you can fix them by ironing them with a hot iron or drying them on a hot tumble dry setting. It's best to hand wash them whenever that's needed. And there's so many things that you can make with your sun printed fabric, including this little pin cushion and drawstring bag. I've also made a larger shopping bag from 2 larger prints, and I used a mix of 3 colours in those pieces for the larger bag. On the opposite side of the larger bag, I've also used some paint splashes to add to the fabric design. So you can paint directly onto the fabric with your paint as well as using the sun printing technique. And remember, you can also print on any cotton clothes, So have fun with that. Here's the t-shirt we did earlier. And any of the sewing patterns for the pink cushion and the bags are really straightforward. And you can find loads of them for either machine or hand sewing if you search on YouTube. So we've come to the end of the workshop now, and it just remains for me to thank you so much for taking part, and I really hope that you've enjoyed the process of making sun prints, and that you have great fun doing it at home. Slán go fóill.